The final guy here is Paolo Banchero. Paulo has done nothing but help himself this year. Like the only real concern you can come up with is that he has kind of cramped in multiple big games now. And
we're a little worried about that though, right? Like we're laughing off, but
yeah,
that graphic that he loses 7 pounds per game, that's a lot. That's significant.
That seems aggressive
Yeah, it
to
does.
me.
Like 2 or 3 after a workout, you get on a scale, like, all right, feeling good, right? Then you have lunch and you blow it out and you're +2. But for -7 every game, and it's a shorter season in college, you have more time to recover. The NBA is no breaks. It's 82. It's playoffs. It's preseason. You're on the plane. You're gone. You're playing not as many back-to-backs, obviously, as it's been in the past, but it's go, go, go. Like you don't have time to recover the luxury of what you have with the current college schedule. So it does make me pause a little bit too and say, well, what do we got to do here to improve this?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think it's going to be essential for him to figure out how to keep electrolytes and like weight essentially in his body, keep water weight in his body. It seems like Duke is trying a few different things. Like they've given him this like special drink or whatever. Nonetheless, I think that's like the ultimate like picking nits scenario with Paulo at the moment. 6'10", elite level shot creator in the mid range. You give him the ball in the elbow, he can jab step, he can, hit a crossover into a step back, he can do an inside out into a step back to the right, like everything that you want from a mid post, mid range shot creator, he's got it. The 3-point shooting is coming around a little bit. I think he's up to like 33% from three on probably like 3 attempts a game right now.
Yeah, roughly.
Overall, there's very little to complain about with Paulo offensively. He is an unselfish player. He makes high-level passing reads, is so technically impressive as a ball handler for a guy that is 6'10", 250 pounds, or 243 pounds at the end of every game. Like, just unbelievable in terms of being able to change pace, change direction, whatever you need from him as a ball handler, he can do it. Defensively, I think he's really smart. I think he's a really good rotational defender. He's always in position defensively. I worry a little bit about him in space in the NBA, but no real. I have no real flaws to like truly like immediately point out with Paulo outside of like, there's probably just not a lot of room for growth with his frame for a teenager.
Yeah, another player in that we saw that he can also do more. Like he can do more of that side pick and roll stuff. And I know in the NBA they'll use him more as a screener and then coming off the screens, sort of like they have with Evan Mobley.
Or frankly, as a ball handler. Like they might use him, like bring the ball up the court, catch an early screen.
Right into dribble handoff, kick back, space out on the side. What I want to throw back to you, and you watch far more NBA than me, is so you see him then as a 4 for sure out in lineups. Like there's no real scenario where he could be a 5.
4 in a late game. He'll play a 5 late in games, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I just like positionally and just going back historically on data, and this is what kind of started the number one pick talk for me is how high. And I remember when we first started doing this, you said, I have LaMelo number 1, Anthony Edwards 2, Wiseman 3. In my tiers ranking, they'd still be like third tiers type guys, whatever. Do you see Paolo as like number 1 pick, absolute cornerstone of a franchise type of guy, or like he's going to be the second or third guy that we already have pieces? He's a great piece to kind of like be in addition to complement what we have, but not necessarily like the guy. And why I frame it that way is there's not a lot of like the guys who are 4 men who it's translated to like long-term success in the playoffs at that position for right now, the way the game's trended the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. I see him more as like a second guy. I don't have
that changed the conversation a little bit.
Yeah. Like I don't have as high of a grade on him as I had on LaMelo Ball, for instance.
Okay.
I had LaMelo as like the highest possible tier 2 guy that I can have. Right. Very, very high grade on him. And like this comes from someone who realistically, like I only put tier 1 grades on guys like Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
Right. Like guys that like I think
Looks
are
good.
like, yeah, legitimate like superstars.
Worked out.
Like
not a bust. It's weird how Cade took 20 games.
Yeah, hot take.
I'm sorry.
Cade Cunningham, not a bust.
I can't help myself. Sorry.
So I do have a lower grade on Paolo than I did on LaMelo,
Mm-hmm.
but in that vein, like I still see him as a number 2, I guess. Like I see him more as like I would love to see Julius Randle like in a number 2 situation with like an elite guard. I would love to see Paolo.
That was the example I had. Like Julius, Zion Williamson is not really fair because he's been hurt, but that type of deal where it's like Julius Randle shouldn't be your number 1 if you want to win, if you want to make the Eastern Conference Finals, something like that.
I'll be honest. I see Zion as potentially being able to be a number 1 if he ever gets healthy, but and gets the weight under control. But we'll see what that looks like over the next few years, right? Yeah, like the situations where Paolo, to me, like I would love to see Paolo in Oklahoma City. Like put him next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and go. Like that is. To me,
and they already kind of have Chet. They have Poku. They already kind of have their off-brand Chet.
But like, I think Paulo's perfect with Poku.
I'm not joking.
Yeah, like I would love to see him there. I would love to see Paolo in. I mean, Orlando is like a million of these, like very long. Yeah, they kind of have a lot of everything, to be honest, right? So like, I don't know that Orlando is like a standout space for him. I'm trying to think of other teams at the top, like Detroit. That'd be fantastic. Like put him next to Cade and go. Houston, put him next to Jalen Green and go. Right.
Yep.
There are just so many teams that, like near the bottom, I think could really use Paolo, and I think would use him exceedingly well at the start of his career. So yeah, no, I'm a big Paolo fan. What have you thought of his defense so far? Because I think that's I think some scouts are a little bit split on how high level of a defender he will be in the NBA.
I think adequate. I don't think it's a negative like a lot of stuff that I've seen out there. I think he'll learn to be more. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Like he'll have better reactions and instincts of how to make that first step as time moves on, but I don't think he's going to be a player in the NBA where there's certain guys that they're in the game and the first 3 times we're throwing the ball to their man and we're going right at him because they can't defend. He's going to get beat. I don't think he has like the best lateral quickness in the world, but enough. Do I think he's the best rim protector in the world? No, I don't, but I think it's enough to deter. So it's not enough for me to say, hey, he's going 4th and not 2nd because I'm so worried about his defensive space. Some concerns. It's a blip. It's in the scouting report, but I'm not using that as like the be all end all.
And then the names that I've gotten in comparison kind of vary widely on him from NBA teams. I've gotten like, is he like better worker Michael Beasley? Is he
Beasley
more like
dude too?
I mean, Michael Beasley, I think, is still the most impressive college basketball player. Him and Kevin Durant. They're the 2 most impressive college basketball players I think I've ever seen in my life.
And ridiculous at Notre Dame prep too. Like ridiculous.
Like unbelievable. So like when you hear the name Michael Beasley,
not a negative. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude had all of the skill he could have ever needed. Carmelo Anthony is another name. I've gotten like bigger Carmelo Anthony. I've gotten more like Julius Randle as like a power player who has like added some skill over the course of his career. Like where are you at in terms of what the role is and like idealizing like plays like this guy?
I'm a terrible plays like that guy. I think it's a hybrid of all those names. I don't see as much of the Carmelo.
I agree with you for what it's worth.
I understand with the Carmelo like sort of mid-range stuff. It's almost like a Syracuse Carmelo too. If you go back and watch how he did a lot of stuff and the mid-post face-ups, these short little turnarounds. Beasley was ridiculous. I know it didn't necessarily always work in the NBA. So that's like a tougher one for me. I see as a number 2 and not as a slight. I don't see him as the guy. I mean, the comps we're talking about right now are all solid number 2s, and that kind of plays to my point of we started here saying, why isn't Jaden Ivey involved when he could maybe be a number 1 guy, be John Morant-ish, and maybe Paolo Banchero is more Carmelo Anthony, Julius Randle, Mike Beasley. I know it's not the always like A to B comp that like, okay, that comp is better than this comp, so this guy's got to go
Right.
first. But enough to be a discussion.